The champagne glass slipped in my hand as the DJ announced, "Let's all celebrate Emma and Mark's engagement." The ballroom erupted in cheers, sequins catching the light as my younger sister twirled in her brand new designer gown. Everyone clapped, their voices rising over the music, but my chest felt like it was caving in. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us, where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I forced a smile, but my stomach churned. That brand new gown had been bought with my savings. The same savings I had spent 4 years building. Overtime shifts at the firm, skipped vacations, nights when I went to bed with nothing but ramen because the down payment for a house meant more to me than a full fridge. And now? My parents had wiped it clean. It was for the family, my mother had whispered earlier that evening when I confronted her in the kitchen. Her voice was syrupy, like she was doing me a favor. You'll understand one day, Olivia. An engagement party is once in a lifetime. I remember staring at her, my throat burning. A house is also once in a lifetime. That was my money, Mom, not yours. Not Emma's. She had simply adjusted her pearl earrings, dismissing me like a child throwing a tantrum. Dad, of course, didn't look up from his whiskey glass. Now, as I sat at the corner table, watching Emma kiss her fiancé while guests showered them with applause, my hands trembled in my lap. My parents sat front and center, glowing as if they'd just orchestrated the wedding of royalty. And when Mom caught me staring, she leaned back in her chair, lips curling in a mocking smile, mouthing the words, "Be happy for her." That was the breaking point. I swallowed back tears. But rage licked the edges of my veins. I had sacrificed everything for a dream of independence, and in one selfish move, they'd handed it over like a party favor. Just then, a chair scraped beside me. My husband Daniel slid into the seat. His jaw was tight, eyes locked on me like he could see every thought raging inside. "Liv," he whispered, his hand covering mine. "I know. I saw your mom's face when you brought it up. Don't let them humiliate you like this." My lips parted, but no words came. Humiliation was already eating me alive. Before I could stop him, Daniel pushed back his chair again and rose to his full height. He lifted his glass high. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice cut through the music like a blade, commanding silence. Heads turned. The clinking of forks and chatter died instantly. Even Emma froze mid-giggle, clutching her fiancé's arm. Daniel's eyes swept across the room, cold and sharp. "We've all gathered here tonight to celebrate Emma and Mark's engagement. A wonderful occasion, no doubt. But before you raise your glasses, there's something you should all know. Something about how this party came to be." I felt the air leave my lungs. My pulse hammered in my ears. Mom's face went pale, Dad's grip on his glass tightening. And in that moment, every single guest leaned in, breath held, waiting for his next words. The silence in the ballroom was deafening. All eyes fixed on Daniel, my husband, as he stood tall, his glass raised, his voice steady but razor-sharp. My mother shifted uncomfortably, her pearls glinting under the chandelier light. My father cleared his throat, as if that tiny cough could break the tension. But it couldn't. Daniel had everyone's attention. "This beautiful party," Daniel began, his gaze sweeping over the sea of sequined dresses and tailored suits, "wasn't funded by some generous parents wanting to give their daughter the night of her dreams. No, it was funded with money that didn't belong to them." Gasps echoed across the room. Guests leaned forward, whispering, eyes darting between my parents and me. Emma's smile faltered, her fiancé shifting uneasily at her side. Daniel continued, his voice like thunder in a storm. "That money belonged to my wife, Olivia. She worked years, overtime, weekends, skipped holidays, to save it for the down payment on her first home. A home she dreamed of, a home she sacrificed for. And do you know what her parents did?" His hand trembled with controlled fury as he pointed directly at my mother. "They drained every cent and spent it on this spectacle." My mother stood abruptly, her chair screeching against the polished floor. "Daniel, that's enough!" she snapped, her voice tight, desperate to maintain composure. "This is not the place." "Oh, I think it is," Daniel cut in, not lowering his voice one bit. "Because while all of you are clapping for Emma, my wife is sitting in the corner, humiliated. Do any of you realize what she's lost tonight? Do you even care?" Every head turned toward me. My face burned under the weight of their stares. My fingers curled tightly around my napkin, knuckles white. Emma finally found her voice, her tone sharp, defensive. "Olivia, is this true? Did you really think your savings were more important than my engagement?" The words hit me like a slap. My chest heaved as I stood, my voice trembling but loud enough to carry. "Emma, it wasn't about choosing between you or me. It was my money. I earned it. I lived frugally for years because I wanted security, a place of my own. And our parents stole it without even asking." A ripple of whispers surged through the guests. Some looked horrified. Others exchanged uncomfortable glances. Mark, Emma's fiancé, rubbed the back of his neck. "Emma, I didn't know." His tone carried unease, his hand slipping from hers. My mother's voice grew shrill, her mask cracking. "Oh, stop this drama. Olivia, you're being selfish. Family sacrifices for family. One day you'll be grateful we invested in something that brings people together instead of bricks and walls." Daniel laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "Bricks and walls? That selfishness, as you call it, was your daughter's dream. And you crushed it for a party that'll be forgotten by next week." I locked eyes with Mom, my voice low but piercing. "Do you know what it feels like to watch my future vanish just so you can play hosts of the year? You've taken more than money from me. You've taken my trust." The room went still again. Emma's face hardened, her jaw clenched. "Maybe you're just jealous, Olivia. Maybe you can't stand that I'm happy and celebrated." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Jealous?" "No. Devastated that my own parents thought my sacrifices meant nothing? Yes. Betrayed that you let them do this without a word? Absolutely." Mark stepped away from Emma slightly, his expression torn. "If I'd known, I never would have allowed this." "Emma, this isn't right." Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some shook their heads in quiet disapproval. My father finally stood, his voice booming in his usual commanding way. "Enough. Olivia, sit down. Daniel, stop humiliating this family. We did what needed to be done." But Daniel didn't flinch. He set his glass down slowly, deliberately. "No, you did what was easiest for you. You paraded your younger daughter in front of the world while stabbing your elder one in the back." He reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out a folded envelope. "What you don't know is, Olivia and I are not powerless. You've taken from us, but we came prepared." All eyes zeroed in on the envelope. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear anything else. Mom narrowed her eyes. "What is that?" Daniel's lips curved in a grim smile. "The deed to a house. Signed yesterday. Paid for. Not by you, not by anyone here, but by Olivia and me together. Tonight, while you toast Emma, remember this. You tried to take her future, but she already built it herself." The envelope slapped against the table as he dropped it, the sound echoing like a gavel strike. Guests erupted into murmurs. My parents' faces drained of color. Emma's mouth hung open, stunned, and in that single moment I felt something shift. For the first time that night, the humiliation in my chest was replaced with something stronger. Pride. Vindication. Daniel wrapped his arm protectively around me, his voice softer now, but still cutting. "So go ahead. Dance, toast, enjoy the music. But never forget whose dreams you tried to bury. Because Olivia's standing right here and she's not broken. She never will be." The ballroom, moments ago filled with laughter, now stood frozen in the heavy silence of truth. And I finally breathed again. The envelope lay on the white linen tablecloth like a weapon, its weight heavier than gold. Every pair of eyes in that ballroom seemed glued to it, as if Daniel had just detonated a bomb in the middle of Emma's grand night. Mom's lips trembled as she tried to recover her composure. A house?" she stammered, her voice unsteady. "You're lying. There's no way you two could afford that without our help." Daniel's jaw tightened. We didn't ask for your help. We didn't need it. And after what you've done, we'll never want it. The guests gasped. Some nodded quietly, clearly impressed. Others sat in stunned silence, sipping their champagne nervously. My father slammed his glass down, the amber liquid spilling onto the tablecloth. This is disrespectful. You've hijacked your sister's engagement party to make some ridiculous announcement? Do you have any shame? My voice cracked as I stood, my legs trembling. Shame? You stole from me, Dad. You let Mom take every cent I had worked for. And you expect me to sit here, clap, and pretend it doesn't matter? My mother raised her chin, her voice sharp, condescending. It was for Emma's happiness. She's starting her new life. We did what was best for the family. I couldn't help but laugh, the sound bitter and raw. No, you did what was best for Emma. You've always done what was best for her. Meanwhile, I was the one working double shifts, covering bills, saving for a dream you never believed in. And when you saw the chance to strip it away, you didn't even hesitate. Emma's face flushed deep red, her hand still clutching her fiancé's arm. You're making me look like a thief, Olivia. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for me? Humiliating for you? My chest heaved as my anger finally spilled over. I watched you walk into this ballroom in a gown that was paid for with my sacrifice. I watched you dance under lights bought with my savings. And you never once thought to ask, where did all this money come from? Because deep down, Emma, you already knew. The words hit her like a strike. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Mark shifted awkwardly beside her, running a hand through his hair. Emma, is that true? Did you know about this? Her silence was louder than any denial. Guests began murmuring, their whispers carrying judgment. I caught one older woman shaking her head in disgust, whispering to her husband, "Stealing your own child's savings? Unbelievable." My father slammed his hand on the table again. Enough! You're both turning this into a circus. You've embarrassed us in front of everyone. Daniel stepped forward, his arm tightening protectively around me. His voice cut like steel. No, you embarrassed yourselves the moment you decided your older daughter's future was disposable. The tension was suffocating. Guests fidgeted in their seats, caught between their loyalty to polite society and the undeniable truth unraveling in front of them. Emma, red-faced and trembling, finally snapped. You think you're better than me, Olivia? Just because you have a deed? A stupid piece of paper? Well, congratulations. You'll never have what I have. You'll never be loved the way I am tonight. Her words sliced, but instead of anger, I felt pity wash over me. Slowly, I lifted my chin, meeting her eyes. If love has to come at the expense of someone else's dignity, then it's not love, Emma. It's greed dressed up as happiness. The ballroom fell into stunned silence again. For once, Emma had no clever retort. Her fiancé stepped slightly away from her, his expression clouded with doubt. Mom's voice shook as she hissed, "Olivia, you're going to regret this." But I didn't flinch. My voice was steady, stronger than I felt inside. No, Mom, I regret trusting you with my future. I regret thinking my parents saw me as more than just a wallet. But tonight I learned something important. I don't need your approval. I don't need your validation. And I certainly don't need your money. I have everything I need standing right beside me. I turned toward Daniel, his hand clasping mine with quiet strength. The guests erupted, not in laughter, not in mockery, but in applause. Soft at first, then louder, until the claps echoed across the ballroom. Not for Emma's engagement, but for the truth that had just shattered the room's false perfection. Emma's face crumpled, her dream night dissolving before her eyes. Mom and Dad sat stiff, faces pale, unwilling to accept the humiliation settling over them. And me, for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe again. I didn't just have a husband who believed in me, I had finally reclaimed my voice. But deep down, I knew this war with my parents wasn't over. Tonight was just the beginning. The applause faded, but the damage was done. The glossy image of a perfect engagement party had shattered, leaving shards of truth scattered across the ballroom floor. My parents sat stiffly, refusing to meet anyone's eyes, while Emma stood frozen, her face blotchy with rage and humiliation. Daniel's hand remained steady in mine, grounding me as whispers buzzed through the crowd like hornets. I could feel the shift. People no longer saw me as the bitter older sister, but as the wronged woman who had finally spoken up. Emma broke first. Her voice cracked as she shouted, "This was supposed to be my night. You ruined everything, Olivia. Everything." Mark, her fiancé, finally stepped forward, his tone uneasy. "Emma, she didn't ruin it. Your parents did. And you didn't stop them." Gasps rippled again. Emma whipped around to him, her eyes wide. "Mark, don't take her side." But his expression was grave, his jaw clenched. "I'm not taking sides. I'm facing facts. If this is how you and your family treat Olivia, what does that say about how we'll treat people in our future? If you can take from your own sister, what happens when we disagree on money, Emma? On respect?" Her mouth opened, but no words came. The silence that followed was louder than her screams. My mother slammed her napkin onto the table, standing tall, her voice dripping venom. "This conversation ends now. Olivia, you will sit down and stop embarrassing this family, or I swear—" I cut her off, my voice sharp but calm. "Or you'll do what, Mom? Take more from me? Strip me of whatever little I've worked for?" I shook my head slowly. "No, you've already taken enough. You don't get to control me anymore." Dad's fists clenched at his sides, his voice thunderous. "You ungrateful child. We raised you, fed you, gave you everything, and this is how you repay us?" The words twisted like a knife, but I didn't let them sink. Instead, I straightened my shoulders and spoke clearly enough for the whole room to hear. "You didn't give me everything. You gave me survival. I built everything else myself. And tonight, you proved what I always feared, that your love comes with conditions. Well, I don't want that kind of love anymore." The guests shifted, uncomfortable, yet captivated by the raw honesty. Some nodded in quiet agreement. Others avoided eye contact, unwilling to face the ugliness playing out. Daniel placed a protective arm around me, his voice steady and final. "We don't owe you anything. Olivia is done being your scapegoat. You can call her ungrateful, but the truth is she's stronger than all of this. And from tonight onward, we won't allow you to touch a single piece of her life again." Emma's sob broke through the tension, high-pitched and ugly. "You're all turning against me." She clutched at Mark, desperation in her eyes. "Please, don't listen to them. We're supposed to be happy." Mark's expression was hollow now, as if a veil had been lifted. "Emma, I don't know if I can trust this anymore. If this is what happiness looks like, maybe we need to rethink everything." Her knees buckled, and she collapsed into a chair, tears smearing her makeup. My mother rushed to her side, shooting daggers at me. "Look what you've done! You've destroyed your sister's engagement." I inhaled deeply, my voice calm despite the storm raging inside. "No, I didn't destroy it. I told the truth. What happens next is on you." The silence that followed was suffocating. My parents sat by Emma, their faces masks of bitterness and denial. But I felt none of their weight anymore. For the first time in years, I was free of it. Daniel turned to the crowd, his tone polite but firm. "We'll be leaving now. Thank you all for your time." And with that we walked out, hand in hand, heads high. The sound of whispers followed us like a tide, but I didn't care. My chest felt lighter with every step. Outside, the cool night air hit me like a cleanse, washing away the heaviness of that room. I looked at Daniel, tears brimming in my eyes. "You didn't have to do that in there. But you did. For me?" He brushed his thumb gently across my cheek, his voice warm. "I'd do it 1,000 times, Liv, because you deserve better than the life they tried to force on you." I smiled through the tears, my heart swelling with a mix of relief and love. For once I wasn't defined by my parents' choices. I wasn't the daughter they could control, or the sister they could overshadow. I was Olivia. A woman who had fought, lost, and reclaimed her future, all in one night. As Daniel pulled me into the car, his hand never letting go of mine, I realized something. Their betrayal had set me free. And in that freedom, I found my true beginning.